he actually can watch those 20 channels simultaneously. He knows what is happening where, and he knows exactly when not to continue with this channel, because that information he can easily extrapolate. The smartphone, today we use it because we need to use it for a particular purpose. It can be a different thing altogether in the future. It can inform me that since you are not feeling well, I could see from the data coming out from your body, I've already asked the ambulance to come and pick you up, which is going to come in 60 seconds. That's Internet of Things. Now let's see how you make Internet of Things. What do you mean by Internet of Things? What makes things smart and convert that into IoT? It could be anything. It could be the podium where I am giving this lecture, or it could be a chair on which you are sitting. It could be the house in which you are living, walls, your vehicle, and so on. Anything can become IoT. So what it requires to become IoT is the 4 important things. I've taken the case of myself here, how I become Internet of Things. Okay. The first thing is that there has to be a unique tagging of mine, that I am so and so person, which can be tracked by identity, which can be tracked by location. So I am wearing a few devices here which tags me that this is Muhammad, blah blah blah. Second thing is that I should be able to connect with the cloud server. So I should have a mechanism to send the information from me through either Bluetooth or through a smartphone continuously. The data has to be continuous, the data has to be loud, the data has to be honest, and data has to be individual. Third thing is that there has to be some sensors in me which can give data about me and about my surroundings. So the sensors I'm wearing today tells me about my personal health. It tells me the ambient temperature around me. It tells me my perspiration levels, blah blah blah. And then all this information should be used to either control me or manage me. And that's whether this data can be used by somebody. It could be a hospital, it could be a personal trainer who can effectively use this data to make sure that I do what I should do to achieve my goals. So these are 4 things: the tagging, the ability to send data continuously, the ability to collect data from the object or from the surroundings, and finally take control of that information is what makes IoT. Okay? What we can do with this? If I make everything IoT, the chair, the walls, the cars, the ambulance, what is going to make, what's going to do for me? Let's look at 4 or 5 points where this can be very, very useful for our life. The first thing is that I can connect and learn about things. I go to a grocery store, I look at the cheese. The cheese tells me that the expiry date is only 2 days away, and I contain so much of calories. Recommendation that you should not pick it up. So I can connect and learn with things. I can monitor them. A mother is going away for half an hour to pick something from the neighborhood stores. She can continuously monitor her son, ensuring that he is sleeping the way he was left. And if any things are required to be done if he wakes up, she can take action on that. Similarly, if my parents are in a small town, I can monitor them to ensure that they are living a proper life. I can monitor anything, everything, anywhere. I can search for them. Where's my keys, wallet, jewelry? I can search each and everything. I know where they are. I can Google them. more importantly, I can put a control logic so that I can use it more effectively. House. I want to manage the cost of operation of my house. Let's say I'm using energy from multiple sources. Some energies are used from non-conventional sources like wind energy, etc. It is going to happen in the future. I'll tell all those things which are not important to be done right now should be postponed when I get enough supply of a renewable energy, where the cost could be half the cost of the conventional energy. I can control the access of anyone in my house so that I know that my house is safe and secure. When I enter the house, it should know that what music I would like to listen. Similarly, when I get up in the morning, it should play a music which can cool me down or which can calm me down. Okay. Controlling things through IoT. Now comes to a much larger thing. We're talking about smart cities. Modi is talking about it. Everybody is talking in the same bandwagon today that we need to create smart cities, 100 smart cities in the country over the next 5 years, 10 years. What smart city is all about? The smart city is where using IoT you can manage everything. I want to make sure that energy is efficiently used without any leakage everywhere, and it reaches to each and every person in the right way. Environment remains clean. The garbage disposal happens in the proper fashion. Health. Every individual living in a smart city should be accessing the healthcare not by the insurance coverage or their ability to pay in the hospital, but by the need. And ultimately, we should be able to remove the mayhem from the roads and make sure that transportation is more efficient and nobody is getting killed or injured while traveling to their house or to work. So this is what Internet of Things can do to people, to us in the next 10 years, 15 years. You may think that this is really a fairy tale, but actually these things are happening. There are smart cities model being created, there are smart houses being created, and there are many more things are being created which are currently a very early stage. But I'm sure the way changes are happening, the speed at which things are moving, in the next 10 to 15 years, these things will be a reality, much more than what we are thinking today. Today there are hundreds of millions of things which are IoT enabled. But I'm sure in the next 5 years, there will be hundreds of trillions of things which will be IoT enabled. And each one of us will be, I'm using currently 2 or 3 IoT enabled objects. I'm sure each one of us are using thousands of IoT enabled objects to interact with, to interact and carry on our life. Does it mean that you're going to make life very complex? Will it change everything, or it's going to be a more wired person moving around in this world? Hundreds and thousands of microelectronics they're carrying 24/7. Is that true? No. Things are going to be very different even in the design space. So definitely I think we have to accept one thing. IoT is here and it's going to change our life. How much we'll adopt it, how much is going to intrude ourselves, we don't know, but it's going to happen nevertheless. That's for sure. IoT will change everything. The way we do business, the way we interact with people and all those things. Let me give you an example of design. A simple thing is a blanket. Blanket we use when we feel cold, just to get cozy in our bed. Nothing else, isn't it? But imagine a blanket which is very, very different. It exactly knows your sleeping pattern, and it knows that what temperature when it maintains and ventilation it maintains, you sleep very soundly. It has your tomorrow's schedule, and it knows that tomorrow your meetings are a little late, so you can be sleeping little longer, and instead of a typical alarm clock which disturbs you every morning, it knows how to wake you up with a very gentle music. There will be aroma coming out of it to relax you when you go to sleep. And it will change colors based on your mood. Now again, if you think that I'm making this up as a story for you, no. This blanket is already there. The design, what you see on this blanket, is actually not the design, but it has been created like this. These are all embedded electronics to control and do things what I just explained to you in the previous slides. Typically when we think of gadget, a mobile phone, we think of two things: electronics inside it and a form factor. That's how we think of gadget, isn't it? Can you think of a gadget anything different than what I'm just explained to you? Now think of a smartphone which changes its shape based on the utility. Morning I'm going for a run, I don't want to carry this big piece. It should be on my wrist. When I'm relaxing in the evening, I don't want to fiddle with this and go through the information. It should give me all the information on the wall opposite me so that I can see what is really happening. You should be able to connect with the social circle of mine, and based on my mood, it should know that whom I need to talk to. So it should be responsive and connected to my community. And again, I'm not talking about this as a fairy tale. There are smartphones already getting designed with that in mind. I know that when Apple came up with something like this, which was just slide and get the information, Nokia also could not predict that. And when this thing came, some of the well-known companies in this space are wiped out. So everything with which you interact, whether it's a chair, whether it's a mobile phone, whether it is a wall in your room, is going to undergo a dramatic change. And I don't know the timeline, but I know that it will not be 20 years. The way it took of 1 gigabyte to become 500 exabyte, I'm sure it will be much shorter period when this change will happen. So IoT is basically staging the disappearance of electronics by embedding them in various things. It could be embedded in the walls, it could be embedded in our clothes, in our blanket, and so on. Okay. Positives, I think we just talked about when I was looking at the smart city. If this really happens, which is going to happen, but I don't know the timeline, the first thing it's going to do, which is a major bottleneck for our world, is managing our precious resources efficiently. Today the water is get wasted, and that's why water is not there for us to drink. Energy is getting leaked or improperly consumed, and that's why we are shortage of electricity. It is not that we don't have enough electricity for 7.5 billion people. It is just that we are not consuming it in the right way. Healthcare is there available, there are doctors available, there is a hospitals available, but it is not happening, it is not accessible in the right time, in the right place. And the last but not the least, very important thing, the safety and security of our people, for which we have to spend billions and billions of dollars without achieving significant improvement in that can be achieved if everything is connected, in collaboration, working, building a community of things which can be responsive. I know that everything which has good has a lot of negatives. The first thing which is happening is going to happen in a much bigger way is that privacy is going to be a passé. The time internet came, we knew about it, but I think I never realized that our 300 million population is sharing so much information on the Facebook about themselves. Actually, somebody who can curate this data, who can analyze this data, can exactly know how Indians are behaving in different segmentations of society. And it's going to happen in a much, much bigger way in the years to come. Vulnerability of networks. This is going to be the biggest weapon of mass disruption. The breaking news could be like this: instead of saying that there is an accident on the road or there is a terrorist attack in Tel Aviv or in Palestine, the breaking news could be very different. That there's a hack happening on the security grid or energy grid or the healthcare grid, which can have an impact on the people across the world. So the possibilities are unlimited. This is going to be the real VUCA, not today, but not too distant as well. Like internet, like mobile revolution, definitely this is going to be the next big thing. And it's an opportunity for us to grab and change ourselves, our life, which has been plagued by non-inclusiveness, the have-nots of this world, 4 billion people. We have opportunity to bridge this gap and make a society which is more livable, which is more sensitive to the people, not on their bank balance or their ability to exert power, but by their need and their requirement. Okay. So I think, with this, I want to conclude this presentation, and then happy to take any questions on this.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. It took me to my younger days when I used to read those fairy tale books of Enid Blyton, and it was just absolutely fascinating. Imagine you go and wear your shirt and it tells you you're stinking, go and have bath. Isn't it? It'd be quite amazing. No, but I was reading an article about a MIT student who's developed an alarm clock with digital hands. If you snooze it for 2 times, it takes out its digital hand and slaps you, So fantastic, sir. And let's open it up for questions. Quickly, just 1 question or 2 questions.
Sure.
Because we have already crossed the time.
It was a very nice journey. You took us to the Internet of Things. In fact, I was remembering the MTS ad which is presently coming. The child doesn't want to get into the mother's womb unless there is an internet connection.
Exactly.
Okay. Somewhere down the line, I feel that with all this, things may roll, emotions will die, and human beings will become like robots. Is there any answer where humanity will finally lose its ground?
I made this last slide that this will open all of us to communicate and collaborate with things, just like our ancestors. I remember my grandmother, she used to speak to everything. She used to speak to the plants, she used to speak to the needle with which she used to sew her clothes. And I used to think that why she is doing it. Maybe as we grew into a more commercial society, this innate ability in us, the millions of sensors in our body which had the ability to communicate, has died down. And I think, again, technology will help us to renew that senses to collaborate, communicate with not just human beings, but with everything around us, whether it is living or non-living. And I think I look at this as a training wheels. I hope that once we are able to get back our senses and our ability to analyze data, we'll remove these training wheels or embedded electronics and live a life the way we have lived before.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you so much, because I'd gone to a Zen monk and he also used to talk to things, and it was just bringing back those memories to me. Okay, anybody else?
Yes, sir. I have one more question. Sir, you said you literally visualized what are the future changes which may happen. So don't you think that these changes will literally hinder the health of a person who is actually using it? You said blanket, having a sound music before I go to sleep. But don't you think that it will have a negative impact on the health of a person who is using it?
Radiations and the
I think,
electronic,
we are very smart in asking these questions, but we don't realize that when there's a telecom tower in your residential area, how much radiation it is emitting, and we don't take a stand to remove it from our locality. When we very recklessly go and get the scanning done, whether it's X-ray or CT, we never ask the doctor that, I'm going to get into this X-ray or CT scanner and it's going to give me dosage which is good for me for my life. Do you think I should go for it, or we can live without that? Some pain is happening, I'll bear the pain. We don't worry about all those things. Then the small nano radiation coming from our small electronics, we get very sensitive about it. How many of us put the phone off into a sleep mode or into an aeroplane mode before we go to bed? We don't do that. But then I heard this question every time I spoke about this subject.
In fact, you said CT scanning, fine. At least when you go for that, at least you will be having that, what are the problems that I'm going to face? I'll be identifying it. But here, don't you think that these kind of things that you are inviting trouble to yourself?
Okay. I said that there are few benefits, or a very larger benefit of this. One is that if it can manage efficiently the precious resources, which includes the environment, which includes the water, energy harvesting, is going to anyway take away the larger problem of life which you are suffering today. And I'm sure as the technology will develop, we'll also find a ways to mitigate these radiation which are going to come in a smaller way all over us.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. All the three speakers took us through a fascinating journey, one from education to inclusion to IoT. And all this adds up to one thing, that VUCA is here to take us from one level to another level. I was just remembering, logic can take you from place A to B, but imagination can take you everywhere. And that's what this session has taken us. It's taken us everywhere. It's made us had a journey from every part, from a college campus to a slum and right to your blanket. So with that wonderful session, I'll end this session and hand it back to the MCs. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajdeep sir. Now it's time for us to honor our speakers. I request our center head, Dr. B.A. Vasu, to please do the honors. Dr. A. Sendil Kumaran. Thank you, sir. Mr. Sanjeev Rao.